Bidenomics and the global phenomenon of shrinkflation. The case of Charmin toilet paper. Introduction. Bidenomics, a term coined to describe the economic policies and strategies implemented by President Joe Biden's administration, has had profound impacts both domestically and globally. Among the various economic phenomena observed, shrinkflation has become a notable point of discussion. Shrinkflation refers to the practice where companies reduce the size or quantity of their products while maintaining the same price. This subtle strategy is a way to pass on rising production costs to consumers without directly increasing prices. One striking example of this is the widely sold Charmin toilet paper, which has seen reductions in its dimensions and thickness. Understanding Bidenomics. Bidenomics encompasses a series of fiscal and monetary policies aimed at revitalizing the American economy, especially in the wake of the COVID-19 pandemic. Key elements include massive fiscal stimulus. Trillions of dollars were pumped into the economy through stimulus checks, enhanced unemployment benefits, and other relief measures to boost consumer spending and support businesses. Infrastructure investment. The administration proposed and passed significant infrastructure bills aimed at modernizing transportation, energy, and communication systems, which created jobs and stimulated economic growth. Tax policies. Adjustments in tax policies aimed at ensuring that wealthy individuals and corporations contribute a fair share, while providing tax relief for middle and lower-income families. Regulatory changes. Reforms aimed at addressing climate change, healthcare, and labor rights, which impacted various sectors differently. Shrinkflation, a global ripple effect. Shrinkflation is not a new phenomenon, but it has gained significant traction in recent years. The reasons behind its resurgence during the Biden administration include rising production costs, increased costs of raw materials, transportation, and labor have forced companies to find ways to maintain profitability. Supply chain disruptions caused by the pandemic exacerbated these costs. Inflationary pressures. The influx of fiscal stimulus and low interest rates led to higher consumer demand, contributing to inflation. Companies, in turn, opted for shrinkflation as a less noticeable way to manage rising costs. Global supply chain issues. The interconnected global economy meant that disruptions in one part of the world affected others. Bottlenecks in shipping and logistics caused delays and increased costs, further pushing companies towards shrinkflation. Charmin, a case study in shrinkflation. Charmin, a well-known brand of toilet paper, has not been immune to these pressures. Observations indicate that the rolls of Charmin have become narrower and the paper itself thinner. This change has not gone unnoticed by consumers who have found that they are getting less product for the same price. Narrower rolls. The width of Charmin toilet paper rolls has decreased, making each roll contain less paper. This change, while subtle, significantly impacts consumer value over time. Thinner paper. The reduction in the thickness of the paper means that consumers use more sheets per use, again reducing the overall value of the product. Implications and consumer response. Shrinkflation has various implications for consumers and businesses alike. Consumer trust. Frequent occurrences of shrinkflation can erode consumer trust in brands. When consumers feel they are being shortchanged, they may switch to competitors or demand greater transparency. Price perception. While shrinkflation avoids outright price increases, it affects perceived value. Consumers may start to perceive that they are not getting their money's worth. Economic indicators. Shrinkflation complicates the measurement of inflation. Traditional metrics may not fully capture the reduced quantity and quality of goods, potentially underestimating true inflationary pressures. A satirical spin. The future of Charmin. As Charmin continues to shrink their toilet paper rolls, we might soon find ourselves in a rather sticky situation. If this trend continues, one might jokingly predict that consumers will be left with rolls so small and thin, they'll be about as useful as a single sheet of tissue paper. In a humorous twist, it could be suggested that if Charmin doesn't stop shrinking their product, consumers might have to resort to using their hands, a grim and highly unsanitary prospect that underscores the absurdity of continuous shrinkflation. A pop culture parallel, Seinfeld and shrinkage. For a bit of comic relief, let's recall a memorable episode from the classic sitcom Seinfeld. In the episode titled The Hamptons, George Costanza experiences the embarrassing phenomenon of shrinkage after emerging from a cold swim. Just as George was distressed to find that things had shrunk unexpectedly, consumers are equally dismayed to find their toilet paper rolls getting smaller and smaller. It seems that both George and Charmin are victims of unfortunate and unexpected shrinkage. Shrinkflation and the obesity epidemic, a humorous angle. In a lighthearted observation, one could argue that shrinkflation might inadvertently help combat the obesity epidemic in the United States. As food products shrink in size while prices remain the same, Americans might find themselves consuming fewer calories simply because there's less food in each package. Of course, this isn't a serious solution to the complex issue of obesity, but it does add a humorous twist to the ongoing conversation about shrinkflation. Conclusion: Bidenomics, with its ambitious economic policies and significant fiscal stimulus, has undoubtedly impacted the global economy. One of the unintended consequences has been the rise of shrinkflation, exemplified by changes in products like Charmin toilet paper. As companies navigate rising costs and supply chain challenges, consumers are left to grapple with getting less for their money. Understanding and addressing these subtle economic shifts is crucial for policymakers and businesses alike to maintain consumer trust and economic stability. And let's hope we never have to test the limits of our improvisational skills in the bathroom.